Students, let's discuss a very important concept, that's the concept of sex determination in Hymenopterous insects. The Hymenopterous insects are included in the order Hymenoptera, which belongs to the class Insecta. The class Insecta is the largest class in the phylum Arthropoda, and the phylum Arthropoda is the largest phylum among the invertebrates. So in these insects, that's Hymenopterous insects. In Hymenopterous insects, some of the examples, common examples are these honeybees, that is the Apis indica, and again there are sawflies, and there are wasps, ants, etc. So the sex determination mechanism in Hymenopterous insects, it is a haplodiploid type. Now, what we mean by haplodiploid mechanism of sex determination? So first, we should remember that there is haplodiploid mechanism of sex determination in Hymenopterous insects. The question is that what we mean by haplodiploid mechanism of, or haplodiploidy mechanism of sex determination. In these insects, you will see the male is represented by this sign. The males are haploid. The males are haploid. Haploid number is represented by N. The males are haploid, whereas the females are diploid. Female is represented by this sign. The females are diploid, represented by 2n. So here the sex is determined by the number of the chromosomes. The chromosomes are not divided into the autosomes and the sex chromosomes like that in the mammals and in the birds. Rather, it is the number of the sex chromosomes which determines the sex. If the number of the chromosomes is haploid, the individual will be male. If the number of the chromosomes is diploid, the individual will be female. That is why we call it as haplodiploidy mechanism of sex determination. So the males in Hymenopterous insects are haploid and the females are diploid. That is why we call it as haplodiploidy mechanism of sex determination. After clearing this thing, now we will discuss the sex determination mechanism in Hymenopterous insects with special reference to the Apis, that is the honeybee. In the honeybee, you will see honeybee. This is the male and this is the female. The male, as already said, would be haploid and the female would be diploid. In honeybees are social insects. They prefer to live in the colonies. There are only very few male individuals in the colony, which we call as drones, and all these males are haploid, means they have half the number of chromosomes. And the females, you will see the females are of different classes, divided into different castes. There are worker bees, and these are sterile females, but they are also diploid. And there is a single queen in a colony. There is a single queen, which is the only fertile female in the colony, and that too is diploid. So again, the males, we say that the males are haploid and the females are diploid. Now the haploid number in case of the honeybee, it is 16. So the drones will have 16 chromosomes, and the diploid number in case of the females, it is 32. So a male, what we call as honeybee, that is the drone, will have 16 chromosomes, and the female honeybee, either it is worker bee or it is queen, it will have 32 chromosomes. Now you will see what will happen during the gametogenesis. Once the gametes are formed, you will see in this case, you will see the female has 32 chromosomes. Once oogenesis occurs, during the oogenesis, you will see the meiosis will occur. Now, what will happen in the meiosis? You will see this is the female having 32 chromosomes. Now, during meiosis, you will see one ovum will receive 16 chromosomes, and another ovum will also receive these 16 chromosomes, because meiosis occurs. In meiosis, the chromosome number is halved, means it becomes half. Each gamete will receive half of the number of the chromosomes. So This gamete, this is ovum, and another gamete, this gamete is also ovum, and each ovum will have now 16 chromosomes. But the female used to have diploid number of chromosomes, that is, it used to have 2n number of chromosomes, that is 32 in case of the honeybee. So once it gets hard during the oogenesis, by the process of meiosis, each gamete will receive now 16 chromosomes. Now let's move towards this male honeybee, that is the drone. In the drone, you will see what will happen. The usual pattern during the gametogenesis is that meiosis occurs. But if over here the meiosis will occur, then the chromosome number will get however that it is 16, it will become 8, and this will disturb the whole system. Now, in exceptional cases like this over here, instead of meiosis, mitosis will occur. That mitosis is the equational division. That is, the male is having 16 chromosomes. This male gamete, that sperm, it will receive 16 chromosomes, and this will also receive 16 chromosomes. So the both of these are spermatozoa. So this spermatozoa receives 16 chromosomes. This also receives 16 chromosomes. The parent had already 16 chromosomes. So over here mitosis occurred, but in this case meiosis occurred. The mitosis occurred to uh, balance the number of the chromosomes in the future generation, in the future upcoming generations, and over here meiosis occurred and the chromosome number was hot. Now you will see these are ova and these are spermatozoa, but in both the ova and the spermatozoa the chromosome number is half, that is the 16. I do not mean to say over here that the chromosome number has been hard over here. It has not been hard. Mitosis occurred, it is equational. I mean to say that in each of the gamete, either sperm or the ovum, the chromosome number is only 16. Now after that you will see, if we will proceed with this, we will see now the sperm, for example, this is the diagram for the spermatozoa. It will have 16 chromosomes, and again this is ovum. This is the representation of the ovum. This ovum will again have 16 chromosomes. Once the sperm fertilizes the ovum, it is fertilization. Now we say that this is 16, this is 16, and the zygote gets formed. From the zygote you will see the offspring gets formed, and in the offspring there will be 32 chromosomes. Means it will again become 2n. Once it becomes 2n, you will see it will be a female. So it will be a female because it is diploid. So we say that in the populations of the Hymenopterous insects, the females are formed by the fertilization process. When the this spermatozoa fertilizes the ovum, the diploid is restored, and the diploid individual is female. And after that, you will see if the female larva is fed on the royal jelly, it will become the queen, and if it's not fed on the royal jelly, it will develop into the worker bee. So this is the first case. Now there is now I will say this is male honeybee with 16 chromosomes. This is female honeybee with 32 chromosomes. This is diploid number. This is haploid number. This is the haplodiploidy mechanism of sex determination. Now again I will say that the spermatozoa over here have been formed by the process of mitosis. The spermatozoa have been formed by the process of mitosis. Each of the spermatozoa will contain 16 chromosomes in case of the honeybee, but the ova are formed by the process of meiosis. And each ovum will have 16 chromosomes. Now the question is, the first case is, if this spermatozoa fertilizes the ovum, like the case over here, you will see the resultant offspring would be diploid. It would have 32 chromosomes. Once it would have 32 chromosomes, means it would have diploid number like this, and it will develop into the female. The case is different, that will it develop into the worker honeybee or will it develop into the queen, depending upon the diet upon which it is fed. If it is fed upon the royal jelly, then it will develop into the queen. If it's not fed upon the royal jelly, it is fed upon simply the nectar, pollen, etc., it will develop into the worker bee. That's not our case over here. We're only concerned with the sex. Either it is the queen or it is the sterile female worker. Both are females and both are diploid. But the case is now this ovum. If we take the example of this ovum will develop into the, it will develop into the offspring, and it will develop into the offspring without being fertilized. And that process in which an ovum develops into an embryo without the process of fertilization, we call it as parthenogenesis. We call it as parthenogenesis. So parthenogenesis is the development of an ovum into the embryo or into the offspring without being fertilized. So the same case occurs over here. Ovum, this ovum will develop into the offspring, and it will develop into the offspring without being fertilized. And this is the case of parthenogenesis. And once it will develop without fertilization into the embryo, it will have the same number of the chromosomes which is present in the ovum, that is the 16. So it will develop into the male. It will develop into the male, which is drawn over here. So we say that the female is developed by the process of fertilization. Once the sperm fertilizes the ovum, the diploid number is restored, it will develop into the female. But once the ovum develops without fertilization into the offspring, we call it as the parthenogenesis. The type of parthenogenesis which is found in the honeybee, it is known as Hymenopterous parthenogenesis. It is known as Hymenopterous, or you can also call it as Hymenopterous parthenogenesis. What's Hymenopterous? Hymenopterous is a special case of parthenogenesis in which the what we call as the ovum develops into the embryo, and the embryo develops into the haploid male individual. This is what we call as Hymenopterous parthenogenesis, or you can also call it as Hymenopterous. So the difference between the sex determination in case of the mammals and in case of the birds, and now in case of the these Hymenopterous insects, is that in the first case, that is the mammals, the sex is determined by the chromosomes. The males are having autosomes plus XY pair of chromosomes. The females are having autosomes plus XX pair of chromosomes. In the birds, again we see that there is chromosomal mechanism of sex determination, but it is opposite to that of the birds. It is ZW type of the mechanism. The males are having two similar type of the sex chromosomes, that is ZZ, and the females are having two different type of the sex chromosomes, that is ZW, which is in contrast with that of the these mammals. But the story in case of the Hymenopterous insects, it is totally different. In Hymenopterous insects, we see it is not the type of the chromosomes which determines the sex, it is the number of the chromosomes which determines the sex. If the number is haploid, then the individual is male. Drone in case of the honeybees, if the number of the chromosomes is diploid, 2n, then the individual is the female. So this is what we call as haplodiploidy mechanism of sex determination. Again, you should remember this point that if again you should remember this point that once this gametogenesis sets in the Hymenopterous insects, the male gametes, that's the spermatozoa, they develop by the mitosis, and the female gametes, that's the ova, they develop by the meiosis process. And once fertilization occurs, sperm fertilizes the ovum, you will see that diploid individual is formed, and it will definitely be a female. And an unfertilized ovum develops into the haploid male individual, and this type of parthenogenesis is the Hymenopterous type of the parthenogenesis. Hope you have understood in its totality the mechanism of sex determination in Hymenopterous insects, particularly with reference to the honeybees.